Good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Siminya.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. We have General Dramat for his evidence.
Thank you. Ms. Ranto?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Yes.
I think after the sworn in of General Dramat, I will lead his evidence, Commissioners.
Thank you. Lieutenant General Dramat, good morning.
Good morning.
Are you going to take an oath or affirmation?
I'll take an oath, Commissioner.
Do you swear that the evidence you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you. Ms. Ranto, your witness.
I'm indebted to you, Commissioners. Good morning, General Dramat. Good morning, General. General, let me start off by confirming with you if you do understand the capacity in which you are appearing before this commission.
Yes, I did receive the notice, the Rule 3.3 notice, indicating that I'm an implicated or potentially implicated person in the matters relating to the TRC cases and politically having been influenced to either stop or the investigations or the prosecution of TRC cases.
Thank you, General. There's an affidavit, a copy of an affidavit in front of you there. Do you have it?
Yes, I do.
May you confirm to the Commission if the contents are actually a product of your own personal information?
It is, Commissioner, a product of my own information with the guidance of my counsel.
Thank you, Commissioners. You have stated in your affidavit that you are a retired member of the SAPS. Is that not so? Which means the South African Police Service, General Dramat?
That is correct, Commissioner. I was integrated into the South African Police Service in 1995, and I retired in 2014 as a Lieutenant General in the police.
Okay. Thank you, General. Perhaps to make it easy for the commissioners, when you talk of integration, what do you mean? That you were integrated into the SAPS?
Yeah. Following the 1994 elections, prior to 95, I was part of the non-statutory forces. I was a member of the ANC and its military wing, the Umkhonto Sizwe. And upon the 1995, we were integrated into the South African Police Services. Remember, there was amalgamation of, I think it was 11 police services at the time. And I was part of the contingent that was referred to as the non-statutory forces. Those would have been forces that was part of the liberation movement's armed wings.
Thank you, General. If we can then proceed to paragraph 5, where we deal with your role as the DPSI head. Maybe just briefly inform the commissioner and the commissioners as to when were you appointed to take responsibility over the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigations.
Yeah, Commissioner, I was appointed in June 2009. Sorry, my apologies. In 6th of July, I was appointed as the DNC, the Deputy National Commissioner, responsible for the Directorate of Priority Crimes Investigations, DPCI, commonly known as the Hawks.
In your affidavit, you stated that your appointment was effective from 1st June, even though you took up,
In-
the actual taking up of the position happened in July, is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
And then you stated in your affidavit that one of the people that resorted under your command or supervision was General Libya, is that not so? Is that correct?
That is correct. Commissioner, sorry, if I may just expand on my appointment as a Deputy National
Oh, yes, please.
Commissioner. Whilst a Deputy National Commissioner responsible for DPCI, as the Deputy National Commissioner, I was also responsible for the detective services at the time, the crime intelligence, as well as the forensic services.
Okay. This was during your appointment
Yes.
in the newly established DPCI? When
Yes.
you were the Deputy National Commissioner, as you explained?
I was appointed a Deputy National Commissioner responsible for the DPCI. But by virtue of being a Deputy National Commissioner, I was also given the responsibilities for detective services, as well as forensic services and the crime intelligence divisions.
Okay. And what happened afterwards, General, if you can inform the Commission?
Yeah.
Following your appointment as a Deputy National Commissioner, responsible for everything, including, as you said, it was DPCI, Detective Service, and services. So after that, what then happened?
Yeah. Then I was charged with the responsibility and went about the process of
Sorry about
of putting or establishing the Directorate for Priority Crimes Investigation, which was my primary responsibility. I must also point out at this point in time that technically I was the only member of DPCI appointed. I had no other staff. I didn't have even an office to start with at the point in time. It's also that it was a national head, so we also had to establish capacities throughout the country in all 9 provinces. I had to establish the DPCI.
Okay. So you were the only one appointed for the DPCI as at 1st June, as you explained,
That's correct.
2009.
That's
And-
correct,
And there were no officials that were there to support you at that time, as you said.
No, not as for DPCI.
Yes.
They weren't appointed DPCI. I did manage, and I was allowed to get support from my previous secretary, because I was, before I came to the appointment, I was actually the Deputy Provincial Commissioner in the Western Cape, responsible for crime detection and investigations.
So meaning when you started taking up your post, it was literally just yourself and your secretary that you brought along from the Western Cape?
I brought my secretary along, yes.
And you also testified that that was also your responsibility to ensure that there was establishment of the DPCI at provincial level as well.
As well, yes.
Were the people at that time at the provinces allocated to the DPCI
No.
when you were appointed?
No.
Okay.
As I said, I was the only DPCI member appointed at that point in time.
Thank you, General. And then you continued in your affidavit to explain that subsequent to that, you were relieved of the functions related to detective service, forensic, and I think it's crime intelligence.
Yes. Yes, that is so, Commissioners. I was at one point in time, I think it was 2011, when I was actually relieved of those responsibilities, and that I could then focus full-time and dedicate my efforts to the establishment of the DPCI.
Yes, in paragraph 8, it says on the 31st January 2011, so you are right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And then going back a little, one step back, when you were still the Deputy National Commissioner responsible for everything else as you indicated, including the DPCI, General Lebia resorted under your supervision at some point.
That is correct. Perhaps I should maybe just explain
Yes.
that in the establishment of the DPCI, that one had to draw from, in fact, the DPCI, there was the Directorate of Special Operations that resorted under the NPA, right? That had investigators, they had prosecutors, and they had, I think, intelligence officers working on that. With the disbandment or the dissolvement of the DSO and the establishment of the DPCI, the DPCI could source members from the DSO. They were given opportunity to be part of the DPCI. Those that had investigative experience, those that had intelligence deployments, was given opportunity to move to crime intelligence. Those with the prosecutors remained within the NPA, but also we had within the SAPS the organized crime, commercial crime, as well as serious and violent crimes units. That was, and the DPCI legislation specifically mandated the DPCI to look at priority or national priority offenses, and also organized crime, serious organized crime, serious commercial crime, and serious corruption. That was, and so I took an approach that everybody in rather than out, because also the legislation indicated that we had to be manned or by members whose integrity is beyond reproach, right? And we all had to undergo a vetting process that the legislation indicated had to be done by crime intelligence, right? And therefore, when in establishing, I took an approach of everybody in, and then we begin to weed out, because there was current cases. There were cases also that was from the DSO that was transferred, right? And there was also cases that is within these various units, the organized crimes units, the commercial crimes units. There wasn't an anti-corruption unit in SAPS. There was nothing there at all. So those investigations couldn't be left and unattended to. So members that was drawn from those units came with their workload, with their investigations.
To
Yeah.
form part of the DPCI.
To form part of the DPCI. General Lebia at the time was in the detective service. I think he was acting for organized crime component head, and therefore he was also brought to the DPCI, and he was under my supervision and reported to me.
Thank you, General. And then you spoke of also the process of vetting that had to happen during the takeover of those members from the DSO and other units of the SAPS.
That's correct.
Yes. What did that mean when you said vetting? What did that process entail?
Yeah, we had to apply the Z204 forms that of crime intelligence and in fact of government, I think, is the Z204, so that we could be investigated and get a clearance. Yeah.
Meanwhile, those members were still serving under the newly established DPCI pending the vetting.
Yes, it was a requirement.
It was a requirement.
Yeah.
You testified that as much as you did not have personnel under your or within the DPCI or the newly formed, in paragraph 6, you also indicated that there was no approved structure for the DPCI. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Hence, General Levy and others had to come from where they came from to form part of the newly established DPCI.
That is correct.
Okay. As we indicated, perhaps before we go to the response to the Rule 3.3 notice that was served on you by the Commission, can you just perhaps give the Commission a time period within which all this had to happen? That is now your appointment, the integration, and your ultimate appointment as a DPCI when you were relinquished of other functions. In terms of what you stated, is that your appointment was in, let's say, July 2009, and then only January 2011 you started taking the responsibility over the DPCI. So that would have been just over a year. Is that correct?
That is correct, but I don't want to say there wasn't a period where I was never responsible for the DPCI.
Yes, no.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember, you stated, you explained to the Commission that there was a point when you were responsible for it as part and parcel of
Yes,
other.
that's
It
correct.
was over and above DPCI detection and so on.
That's correct.
Until January 2011.
That's correct.
Yes. So, meaning you started taking the responsibility solely for the DPCI from 31st January 2011.
That's correct,
Yes.
Commissioner.
Now, let's go to paragraph 10 of your affidavit. This is where you refer to the notice that you spoke about, that you understand that you are here because of the contents of the notice served on you by the Commission. Now, in paragraph 10, you specifically refer to the allegations that are contained in paragraphs 311 and 313 of the founding affidavit filed in the application of Galata and others in Gauteng. So you confirm that the basis of your response was in relation to those paragraphs as contained in the notice.
That's correct, Commissioner.
And you do point out to the Commission that more specifically, it is alleged that Advocate McAdam made a number of attempts to secure a meeting with you, and those were unsuccessful, correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
And you also point out to the Commission that according to Advocate McAdam, at the time when he approached you, he alleges that he was alerting you of a matter that was about to prescribe on the 12th of September 2009. Is that not so?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Would I be correct that what essentially that meant was that from July, August, September, we're talking a period of 3 months that you had to deal with this cases that Advocate McAdam allegedly asked you to assist with within a period of 3 months to avoid the prescription according to him. Is that not so?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Now, in paragraph 11, you state to the Commissioner that you refer to the context of Advocate McAdam's affidavit, that's RCM6, to his affidavit filed in support of the Nkadime matter. And you do explain that on the 7th of July, to the, that's 27 July and 28 August 2009, was shortly after you resumed your duties in July 2009.
That
That's
is
correct.
correct, Commissioner. As I indicated, I was appointed in June, but took up office in July. Right? And I do take note, although I don't have any recollection of the email, but I do take note that Comrade, sorry, my apologies, that
Advocate.
Advocate McAdam made attempts to
So you do
seek
not
a meeting
dispute
with
that
me.
he may have,
No, I wouldn't be in a position to dispute that.
as you also stated again, that you also cannot recall if you responded.
No, I cannot.
And in terms of the process of integration that you're talking about, getting everyone to be housed under your supervision, as you were explaining earlier, General Libya, Specialized Unit DSO, all this happened during the period that Advocate McAdam would have attempted to secure a meeting
Yeah.
with you. Would that be correct if I say that?
That would be correct. I mean, it was in the process, commissioners, at that point in time. There were simple things. They didn't have an office as when I was appointed, you know. I didn't have staff. I brought the secretary with me, and the secretary was from Cape Town, and also had to relocate, had to set up office, and the email that we would have sent to is the email that is manned by my secretary. Right?
Okay. Commissioners, if I may just refer the commissioners to correspondence. In terms of the Advocate McAdam's affidavit, it doesn't really have the dates and so on, but there is, in the Galata bundle, correspondence page is 303 of the Galata bundle, commissioners. If I'm allowed, specifically page 304, Commissioner, I just want to inquire from General Dramat relating to the correspondence that he referred to. There is an email from DPCI head, and then the person that signed there is Pumla N. Mpotulo. Do you know the person?
That is my secretary.
So for the records, that was on the 28th of August 2009. It's addressed to Helena Zwart. And it says, "Good day, Mr. McAdam. We wish to acknowledge receipt of your email. DNC Dramat is unable to meet with you presently, but will revert back to you in due course." As you stated earlier that you do not have a recollection,
That's correct.
but you cannot deny that it would have been Pumla from your office that responded to this correspondence.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay. Now, General Libya testified before the commission that his appointment took place in August 2009.
So before you go there, I think earlier than August, if you go to page 1723, of this bundle, the earliest reference to General Dramat is in at the foot of the page on the 14th of July 2009. It says TRC cases requiring investigation, and then important is what Helena Leila Raymond says And if we can just read that. Dag sê Helena, commissaris Dramat se kantoor het nou net geskakel. Hy wil die vergadering uitstel na Augustus. Hy is nie beskikbaar volgende week nie. Ek sal die nuwe datum met jou communikeer. Groete, Wilma. Do you understand Afrikaans?
I do, Commissioner.
Yes. Actually, there is also somewhat a translation thereof, because if we carry on the following page 1724, then it goes on to say, beste Wilma aangeheg, vind asseblief 'n lys van TRC sake wat by die vergadering bespreek gaan word. Sal jy asseblief so vriendelik wees om dit aan te stuur na die twee kommissarisse, aangezien ons nog nie commissaris Dramat se kontakbesonderhede het nie. What I want to point out here is that it would seem that this was brought to your attention. You said you are not available. You'll be available only on August, according to this correspondence. You may not have an independent recollection, but this should refresh your memory. Do you recall then making this undertaking that you might be available in August of that year, 2009?
Commissioner, unfortunately, I don't have recollection. And me having seen the email and read this does not assist in with my memory, But listening to the conversation that happens here between, it would seem, from Ms. Alina Swartz and Ms. I assume the person that's at the NPA office, or Mr. McAdams' office, and the person that's in General or Commissioner Lala at the time's office, that they indicate that my secretary would have called them to say that I'm not available. My secretary was also the person responsible to manage my diary, and therefore would have known that I wouldn't be available at those specific times. It is possible that she would have raised it with me, but I don't have recollection of it, unfortunately.
Yes, but also looking at what is stated there, it is very important because there would have been a list of cases given, and not only cases, TRC cases, so that wat bespreek gaan word. In other words, cases that would be on the agenda for discussion. So it was very important. You agree?
Yes, all matters, my attitude would be important. Yeah, that was my attitude. I never discriminated on anybody that wanted to discuss whatever cases, but yeah.
I also take note, of course, and I understand that you had just taken, office at the time, and you explained that you were very busy. I do understand that. Thank you, Ms. Ranto.
Thank you, Commissioner. Maybe just as a also follow-up question to what Commissioner Khomo asked, just to find out from you, General, at the time when you took over, I just want to find out as to whether you were aware as to how many TRC cases were being handled by the SAPS or investigated by the SAPS at the time.
No, no. Yeah, perhaps I must maybe just add, with the, I think I did explain earlier, with the establishment of the DPCI, that the investigations would have been somewhere. TRC investigations, as well as corruption investigations, as well as organized crime investigations, and commercial crime investigations would have been handled somewhere. You know? When the DPCI was established, and it fell within the mandate of the DPCI, specifically with the cases that was handled by the DSO, they were supposed to be handed over. You know, now I'm not sure whether the TRC matters was part of that cases that was investigated by DSO, whether the DSO investigated TRC cases. I'm not sure. You know, yeah.
Perhaps if we can just go back to General Lebia's responsibility at the time when he was appointed in August 2009,
Yeah.
now reporting under you as the Deputy National Commissioner.
Yes.
Yes, do you remember what his responsibilities were?
Yeah, he was responsible mainly for the organized crime units, but it was also, I also relied on him as the taking responsibility for DPCI units and investigations. Yeah.
Meaning the TRC cases, if at all there were those in existence, would have then be dealt with by General Lebia
They would
upon
have.
his appointment.
They would have, yes. And Howard used to work, I can't say from the onset, but how it worked is that my office, let me say, General Lebia was almost an extension of my office. So if matters was sent to me at correspondence that related to the DPCI, it would be sent to him for his attention and actioning. Right? And in the, as I did read in Advocate McAdams' affidavit,
Yes.
that he did, after not securing an appointment with myself, he, in fact, I think it was in November, he actually managed to talk to General Lebia about these cases, and my understanding is that General Lebia gave attention to the cases that was mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
If at all you had succeeded in securing a meeting with Advocate McAdam during August 2009, would I be correct that General Lebia would have been present or would have taken care of the issues that would be raised in that meeting?
For any actioning and appointment and sending to any of the units, General Lebia would have been the individual that would action.
Meaning, even if you had met with Advocate McAdam, you would still have assigned General Lebia to take care of the issues that were raised.
That is correct, Commissioner.
And then just in conclusion, the allegations are that there was political interference with the investigation and or prosecutions of the TRC related cases. Now my question to you is whether at any given moment you were ever influenced politically or otherwise not to pursue any cases related to the TRC.
Commissioner, without any fear of contradiction, I can say that at no point in time was I influenced or did I seek to influence or instruct anybody to not investigate TRC related matters or any other matter for that. At no point in time.
And that would have extended to anybody that worked under you, that no such instruction was ever.
I would not,
Issued
it
by
would
you.
have been illegal. That is my attitude, and I would not have given such an illegal instruction to anyone under my command.
Thank you, General Ramat. Commissioners, perhaps commissioners, just want to check with
Yes.
my colleague. Commissioners, I think that brings an end to the evidence of General Ramat.
Thank you, Ms. Ranto. Mr. Kuala? Switch on your mic.
Thank you, Chairperson and members of the Commission. We do not have questions for this witness.
Thank you. Ms. DeForce?
Questions either. Thank you, Chair, Commissioners.
Thank you. Ms. Moroka?
I find out what is going on. There seems to be some cold air blowing down on us, but I have no questions. Thank you.
But you can talk.
I'm not sure about that, Commissioner. It feels like cold air coming down on us, but I have no questions, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Moroka. Mr. Vani?
Chair, in addition to the cold air, it is a bit noisy. I just want to make sure that we can be heard.
Yes, you can be heard.
Yes. Chair, we do have a short number of questions we'd like to put to the witness.
Yes, you may proceed to do so.
Thank you, Chair. General Dramat, firstly, thank you for coming up from Cape Town to be with us today. It's appreciated. To be clear, General, we don't regard you as an implicated person in these proceedings. As far as we're aware, there's no basis to accuse you of being involved in stuff. I believe that was in 2014 or 2015.
14.
2014, yes. During those years, did you have any interaction with the TRC cases?
There was an officer that had an engagement with me. I forgot the officer's name. Unfortunately, I can't recall his name, but it was specifically on the Simelane matter. He was investigating that case.
The Nokatula Simelane case?
Excuse me?
Nokatula Simelane.
That is correct, Commissioner.
And was it perchance Senior Superintendent Louis Bester?
No, it wasn't. It was a black officer.
I see, although you can't remember his name.
I can't, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Not a problem. So was that the only matter that you can recall from those years?
Yes.
So then let's turn to your paragraph 10, in which you give an overview of the Rule 3.3 notice, and you make reference to the paragraphs in the Kalata affidavit, which in turn reflect various communications that Advocate McAdam had with your office. We don't need to go over that in detail. Your evidence in chief has covered it. But essentially, McAdam seemed to be saying that that there were these cases, 11 reduced to 10, that needed to be investigated. One was prescribing. At that time, were you surprised to hear that these TRC cases still had not been investigated, given that they were quite old cases, but also serious cases such as murder?
As I testified that I don't have recollection of it, so I can't respond to at the time,
Okay.
Yeah, I can't respond to that,
Right.
Yeah.
But as we sit here today with the benefit of hindsight, the fact that the NPA was approaching the DPCI for investigators as late as 2009, with the benefit of hindsight, would that be surprising to you?
Look, I am surprised with hindsight now that the NPA that wouldn't have had investigators. Where were they from? What was happening with those cases all this time? That would be the question. Why was nobody investigating them?
Yes.
Where were they
Well,
before it came there to, according to the email?
Yes.
In
Well, this commission is attempting to get to the bottom of that question, amongst others.
okay.
Then if we turn to your paragraph 13, you mentioned that Advocate McAdam did in fact meet with General Lebeya, and that was towards the end of 2009, and that Senior Superintendent Bester was assigned to deal with those 10 matters. And incidentally, we don't know the 10 matters, but I think we can assume that the Nokutula Simelane matter was one of them. Now, would you be surprised to hear that notwithstanding the appointment of Senior Superintendent Bester, between 2009 and 2016, and I know this now surpasses your time at the SAP since you left in 2014, but with the benefit of hindsight, would you be surprised to hear that during that period of approximately 6 years, there were no cases enrolled, no indictments issued, no inquests held on the TRC cases?
Well, most probably it points to the difficulty of the investigations, I assume. Most probably because of the length of time when the matters would have happened and what available evidence there is, could be factors that contribute to a lack of these cases having progressed to prosecution state. I'm not sure.
Yes.
You see, you'll have to go into those individual investigations and see what are the objective reasons for progress or lack of progress. It's difficult for me to say.
Yes. And since you raised the Nokutula Simelane matter, I don't know if you recall, but in 2015, Tembi Simelane, on behalf of her family, went to the High Court to compel a decision from the NPA. And in fact, that did result in an indictment being issued in early 2016. So so certainly in that matter, it didn't appear that there was a want of evidence. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, look, as I say, you need to look at each investigation, you know, what's the available evidence in the specific matter.
Yes. You were asked by your counsel, Ms. Ranto, whether you knew how many TRC cases were being investigated by the DPCI. The DPCI did submit a report to the Justice Portfolio Committee in Parliament, and it did give an indication of the number of cases being pursued by the DPCI. And it appears that in 2011 only one case, TRC case, was opened, and in 2013 also only one case. In fact, the bulk of the cases, some 140, were only opened in the years 2021 and 2022. Do you have any comment as to why so few cases were opened by the DPCI in the period between 2011 and 2020? Or at least during the period that you were at the DPCI?
Well, the cases, as indicated, there were 10 matters that we know of that was sent to the DPCI, and in all likelihood, General Lubia would have assigned it to investigation units, or investigators would have been assigned. So in that sense, there was at least 10 cases, active cases, being investigated. When you say that there was only one in 2011 that was opened, are you saying that it was enrolled, or I just need some clarity, Commissioner, because my understanding on the strength of Advocate McAdams' affidavit that 10 cases was, at least 10,
Yes,
was assigned and was active investigation, so would have been opened in police terms. Yeah.
Yes. No, we certainly don't mean enrolled. We mean opened. Unfortunately, we don't have that list of 10 cases, so we don't know whether they were in fact opened and investigated. All we know is that there was no progress in those years until the Simelane family went to court in 2015. No further questions, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Vani. Mr. Siminya?
Chair, before my late colleague Nalani puts questions, I'm advised that there are two representatives virtually who are present with these proceedings for Advocates Jiba and Advocates Simelane.
Yes. Are they available virtually to put clarificatory questions?
I take it that's why the information has been
Yes.
forwarded to me.
Can we proceed to have Ms. Ntambeleni for Advocate Jiba?
Good morning, Chair. We don't have any clarificatory questions for this witness.
I didn't get your response.
Morning, Chair. We don't have clarification questions for this witness.
Thank you. Ms. Rikotso?
Morning, Chair. We also don't have any clarification.
Thank you. Mr. Nalani?
Commissioner, I see it's 11:06. Can we start now?
Yes,
Or
you
do you
may.
want to take a tea break?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. General, good morning.
Morning.
As I understand from your evidence, you literally were the first person to start the DPCI.
Mr. Nalani, you're not in sync with your microphones.
Am I in sync now? Thank you very much. You appear to have single-handedly started the process of the establishment of the DPCI. You are the first person to be appointed, is that correct?
That's correct, Commissioner.
And you had to marshal staff, offices, equipment, and other necessary instruments for you to enable to start the DPCI, correct?
That's correct, Commissioner.
And as I understand that one of the persons that you relied on mainly was General Lebeya.
That is correct.
You said he was an extension of your office,
That's correct, Commissioner.
and you'd have been involved in some of the practicalities of dealing with the issues referred to the DPCI.
That is correct, Commissioner.
From what we hear from Dr. General Lebeya is that he was requested by Advocate Makadam to look into 10 cases relating to the TRC. You also mentioned that you know about that.
I learned from them from the Advocate McAdams affidavit.
So the DPCI was at the very least seized with at least 10 cases when it started its operations. TRC cases.
That's correct.
And as we understand from General Lebeya, on whom you relied, there were at least one problem or challenge which was identified, which was lack of investigators. You agree?
I'm not aware of a lack of investigators.
When Makadam came to the DPCI, he wanted an investigator to be assigned to at least those 10 cases that he wanted to be investigated.
Yes.
And as we understand the structures of the operations at the time, there was a unit within the NPA called PCLU, which was responsible, among others, the investigation and prosecution of TRC cases. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And Advocate Makadam was working in that unit.
Yes.
Yeah. And when he came to the DPCI, it was for the DPCI to assign investigators so that the cases can progress, the TRC cases. You agree?
Yes.
Yeah. And as we understand from General Lebeya, he then put in place processes to enhance the availability of personnel in the DPCI, which was a new organization in a sense, to beef up the capacity of the DPCI, with which you were the head. You agree with that?
I was the head, yes,
Yes.
of the DPCI.
Yeah. And as we understand it, a number of posts were advertised, at least 200 cases or so, 200 posts or so, were advertised to fill the capacity of the DPCI to start with its job.
Sorry, Commissioners. Apologies, Commissioners. Just to assist my senior colleague, those appointments were made way after the departure of General Thomas.
Yes.
All right. So during your tenure in the DPCI, you were not involved with the appointment of staff, at least investigative staff.
No. I was involved at the level of the provincial heads. That was my first, and the staff at the national office.
Now, during your tenure, what did you do personally as the head of the DPCI to make sure that TRC cases at least those that were identified by Advocate McAdam, were able to be investigated as thoroughly and as possible.
As I testified earlier, that I wasn't aware of TRC cases per se. Right? There was a number of cases that the DPCI inherited from the DSO, as well as those cases that was investigated by the organized crime units, the commercial crime units, and the serious and violent crimes units of SAPS. So, and together with those personnel, right, that came from, at least from the SAPS. Yeah. So Commissioner can't say that I did something specific on TRC related matters only.
You relied on General Lebeya in the main.
That is so.
And from his evidence, it appears that he did assign investigators on these cases.
Yes.
And he also testified that, of course, I'm told now that it might have been after he had left, he was able, well, through his efforts and requests to the authorities, to make sure that investigators are increased and appointed.
Yes, that's pursuant to the departure of
Yes.
Lieutenant General Dramat.
Yes, thank you. And you say during your time period, you did not interfere with anybody, stop any TRC investigations, or influence anybody to stop the TRC case investigations?
No, I did not. It would have been an offense.
Commissioner, those are the questions.
Thank you.
Can I just find out from you, General, we know what Mr. McAdam says in his affidavit, and you point out in paragraph 13 that General Lebeya came on board specifically on the 26th of November 2009. Now, after Mr. McAdams could not get hold of you, did General Lebeya report to you about the difficulty relating to the appointment of investigators, particularly relating to the TRC matters?
Commissioner, I don't have any recollection of such difficulty. In my understanding, most probably he would have allocated those investigations to a unit that was probably within the organized crimes, or what later on became the crimes against the state unit. He would have assigned those investigations to that unit. I don't think he would have appointed specific investigators for a case.
But he
would have, excuse me.
But he did not share his difficulties with you.
I don't have a recollection of him
Yes. Yes.
indicating
I think that is-
any difficulty.
I think you've answered my question. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Ranto?
Thank you, Commissioners. There won't be any re-examination of the witness.
Thank you. Lieutenant General Dramat, we thank you for having come to give evidence before this commission. At this stage, there is no indication that an application for your cross-examination is going to be launched. You are excused as a witness, but should such an application be made, you may be recalled as a witness. Thank you.
Thank you.
These
Commissioner.
proceedings are adjourned until tomorrow at 10 o'clock.